What up? Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Pizza Palace. I am your host, Robert Winstanley, committing sacrilege here with my Yankees jersey and my Tigers above. If that pisses you off, leave it in the comments below. Also, Fire Blashill. Alongside here is my boy, Hollywood Sean Murphy, who's miming me for some reason. Sean, how are you?
I've been doing that for the past 4 weeks in every intro, and I've been waiting for you to notice. I am doing well. How are you?
I noticed, but I just kind of, it's one of those like, oh God, and you just let it go. It's like that. It's like when you see that guy at the bar doing something weird, and you're just like,
Yeah,
boy.
it's like when you see the guy at Chuck E. Cheese, it makes you a little uncomfortable. So like you move to the other table because it's like you shouldn't be here, but like you are for some reason, and it's like they can't legally kick you out, but also like legally he can't exactly go in the playpen. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like when you're in line at like a sporting event or just about anywhere to get concessions, and like the guy next to you starts talking to you, and at first it's cool, but then all of a sudden he says something like really sexist or weird, and you're just kind of like, ha ha ha, I'm now associated with you. This is incredibly awkward.
Yeah, or it's like when you go to it's like when you go to a concert for Lil Dicky, and then a
Oh,
guy comes up
Jesus
to you with a cup and
Christ.
he says, and he's like, "Yo, I got 6 different pills in this. You want to get fucked up?" And I'm like, "No, I do not. No, please, sir, no."
Dude, that concert was great, except for that it started like 2 hours late. And yeah,
Well,
everyone in the audience was
and
unbearable.
and it was by Western, which Western is probably one of the trashier schools we have in the area,
Woof.
I would say.
I mean, not as much as Central, but pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could really go either way with it, to be honest with you.
Really, any Michigan school. It's just a bunch of fucking drunks. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Uh-huh.
It's college. That's just college. It is what it is.
Yeah. They're all fucking trash.
So, anyways, we are now, I think, we're at 5 or 6 games, depending on the team, away in the NHL from ending the
Uh-huh.
season. Thank Christ. I
Yeah.
have never been so ready for an NHL season
Yeah.
to end because the Red Wings have been not great, as we can see by this. It
They
is finally time.
suck,
It
actually.
is time to fire this fucking guy.
Yeah. It's
I've
time for
been
him to
more
go, isn't
patient.
it?
I've been more patient than almost any
Yeah.
other Red Wings fan I know, and it's time.
You've been good.
Similarly,
Now, here's the thing.
the Golden Knights season's also been a travesty, so it's
Uh-huh.
time for that to go too.
Here's what I got to say. To everybody that's been telling me that Blashill is very comparable to Dwayne Casey, go
Jesus Christ.
yourself, because Dwayne Casey actually has tutelage. He actually has a background that's worthy. He's actually a really good coach. He's built programs, whereas just Jeff Blashill, he's done fine. And like, yes, young guys have prospered, but like a guy like Mo Sider is going to play great no matter what the circumstances are. Guys like Dylan Larkin are going to play great no matter what the circumstances are. Lucas Raymond, you know what I mean? Like
I'm trying to think of a guy he reminds me of. He's maybe like a significantly less good Thibodeau, maybe.
yeah, he kind of reminds me of like a coach like Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, something like that.
Like
Yeah, where you're
NHL
just gonna
Jeff
really
Fisher.
aggressively go like
Uh-huh.
500.
Yeah. Like you're
Yeah,
aggressively mediocre.
yeah, for sure, for
It's kind of
sure.
like what you go for. It's your thing.
Pretty much, which is kind
Mhm.
of the Thibodeau in a way,
Yeah.
where it's sort of like you don't. He's not really a Thibodeau though, because he does kind of develop young talent, but he also like waits too late. Yeah, God, I don't know. I'm fucking tired of this guy. Fuck this guy.
Uh-huh. He's
Also,
got to be fired.
the Vegas Golden Knights front office should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. They're an embarrassment to the league right now. They are an embarrassment to the city of Vegas, and they should apologize to their fan base because this season has been nothing short of a disaster.
Mhm.
And everything that this front office has done pretty much since they went to the Stanley Cup has just been a complete debacle. Like, it's just one of these situations where they were instantly good, and that might have been the worst thing that ever happened to the Vegas Golden Knights because
Uh-huh.
immediately they were like, oh shit, we can cash in. And so they went out and got some pretty big players, which was exciting and good, and it looked like it was going to be really, really promising in year 2 and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then in year 3, they did it again, and it was like, oh, okay, I don't know if that was necessary. And they got rid of some good character guys, and it
Right.
was like, right. And then this season, they got rid of pretty much every high character locker room guy from the original roster, with the exception of Jonathan Marchessault. And they got rid of the backbone, the spine of the team, Marc-Andre Fleury, and pretty much just gave him away for a bag of used pucks. And it's just kind of like, what the fuck did you expect to happen? Like, they're not really a team. They didn't really build a team. They just got a bunch of superstars from other teams and sort of slapped them together and hoped that it would work out. But it created so many different gaps within the team itself. And also, like, their coaching philosophy now looks even worse. Like, before, the shortcomings with their strategy in general, especially when attacking the net, was a little less glaringly obvious, but the more superstars that they get on the team and the more that they use them in a really odd and methodically dumb way, like, it just becomes increasingly obvious the shortcomings. And I think that Peter DeBoer was and still is a huge mistake. Like, great coach in the sense that he's going to get your team to be maybe overachieving in some ways and get you most likely to the playoffs, but he's by no means the type of guy that's going to get you over any type of hump. And just looking at what Gerard Gallant has done this season with the New York Rangers, a team that I really, really think could win the Stanley Cup and would be cool if they did. Like, it's just like, this is what the fuck we could have had, and you just threw it away for no reason. So
That's what's up.
I'm pretty.
Let's do that hockey. That's what's up.
Yeah, I just went really, really into hockey for you, but it's very upsetting, man. It's just so frustrating to watch kind of, this type of shit, because not even just because I like the Golden Knights and because, whatever, but like, for the franchise at large, or for the league at large, it's not good when you have a young franchise that is that successful right away and gets that many superstars and then somehow fucks it up this badly. Like, it's just like, it's not really what you want. So,
well,
we'll see what they continue to do, and we'll see what the Kraken are able to do over the next 2 years, because they have a shitload of money that they're going to be able to spend. But
you know what it feels like, the Golden Knights? Honest to God, it feels like the way that they've constructed their team is authentically just like a Vegas fucking table roll. Feels like they're going up and playing blackjack. They go up, never played before, like win big their first hand, and then from there they just lose, and they go down, and they go down, and they go down, and they go down. Suddenly they reach into their pockets, and they realize they don't really have many chips in them to play many games going forward. So the thing is you can't go in and just make moves and hope they work out. Like, you have to have a plan. You have to know
they're kind of just playing. They're playing like, first of all, that was extremely well said and also very accurate. But I feel like they are playing sort of like you would in the video game. You know what I mean? Where it's just sort of like, well, whatever. We'll just, throw all caution into the wind and not worry about our long-term assets or this or that. Like, we won't worry about locker room chemistry. We won't worry about like our overall image, because like they've set a absolutely horrendous and toxic precedent, because it's like, you get these guys who you promise the world to in a lot of ways, or even you sign to a really decent extension, and they seem like they're going to be a core part of the franchise. And the next thing you know, you flip them to Vancouver for whoever the fuck, or you just flip them because you need the cap space. And it's like, well, then why the hell did you sign me to that deal in the first place? Like, what the fuck's going on? So they've shown that they have absolutely no loyalty whatsoever, which is horrible. And I don't know how much longer you can continue to get major free agents that way, when it's like, oh, well, every time, they get a big free agent, they end up burning the bridge with them. So it's like, that's kind of strange. Not to mention, they've had multiple guys that were really, really good young prospects that either A, they drafted, or B, they acquired. And they squandered all of them by trading them to other teams. And now they're playing very well, is specifically Suzuki for the Canadians. And it's just like, it's just very frustrating to watch, because I'm like, you're a brand new franchise. You had all this promise. Well, I think Miggy just hit a run, or Miggy just got a hit, so that's awesome. He's now 4 away.
Hell yeah. I think honestly, man, like if I had to break it down or think about it really, I think they're just such a new franchise that even though they bring in people that have done it before, just from the top down organizationally, like, I think they're just going through the growing pains of what it's like to be a new franchise in an organization. In order to be a championship team, it's not just about getting the players. It's from the top down. Like, we're seeing the best teams in the league are the ones that are generally well run as an organization. Like the Phoenix Suns, with the exception of their ownership, like their general manager, top notch, their coaching staff, top notch, their leadership and the players stat, like top notch, like you're seeing teams like Sacramento who are lost as an organization, don't know how to develop players, don't have a good organizational staff and front office, struggle. So I think a lot of it is the Golden Knights are just so young.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly their young owner, he's not young age per se, but like the fact that he hasn't been in the NHL very long as a team owner. But like the thing of it is, honestly, the best way that I can think about him is he reminds me a lot of George Steinbrenner, of course, of the New York Yankees, who used to just go out and he'd be like, "Oh, the team sucks. Cool. Well, I'll just pay all of the good players and get them here."
Right.
The problem is that would be perfectly acceptable if there was no salary cap in the NHL.
Right.
There's a salary cap in the NHL. So like he's going out and being George Steinbrenner and bringing in all of the guys that all the fans want, which is awesome and should work. But then he has to sacrifice all of the depth and all of the role players.
You bring in all the stars, but what about the foundational pieces? What about
exactly.
What about your glue guys that like you got in the expansion draft that made this organization what it was? What about those key pieces?
Imagine a team. Actually, it's kind of like the Lakers. Kind of.
Yeah.
Like imagine in some ways, like imagine a team where it's almost entirely built out of Steve Blake's, but like you randomly have.
Yeah, that's the Lakers.
Well, right, exactly. But you like randomly have like Anthony Davis and Jeremy Grant, and then like on your bench you got like
Davis and Russell Westbrook.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like you just have like some guys who individually are great, and if they had really good depth role players that could facilitate them and things like that or whatever, you'd be in really, really good shape. Right. But you have none of that. You have to rely solely on those guys as individual performances, and it's like, well, that's just not the fuck how this is going to work.
Well, what you're finding in the NBA is it's a lot less of guys coming up as trios, but it's more guys pairing up, and then through those pairs, they have more salary to get better guys around them. So like the team has more longevity, the team can get more pieces, and then you have a situation like in Phoenix where like you have 2 star players in Devin Booker and Chris Paul that are playing right next to each other. But then you have Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Payne, JaVale McGee, all jokes aside. All jokes aside, JaVale McGee might be the difference between them winning and losing a championship. Like he might be the reason why they beat the Bucks in the finals this year. Because last year, if you really look at how that finals went down, it was really through DeAndre Ayton getting in foul trouble, and then they didn't have a backup big other than Frank Kaminsky, who, if you've ever tried to see Frank Kaminsky run, it is Luka Garza levels. I love Luka Garza. Frank Garza.
Running through syrup, huh?
It is thick syrup, dude. But
kind of like how you're always making fun of what's his nuts on the Pistons for running through mud.
Yeah, Luka Garza, like I said. Yeah.
Or Luka. Yeah. Sorry, that's Luka him.
Garza
okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought when you said Luka, I just thought of
Luka Doncic.
Yeah, correct.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not exactly the quickest either, so.
Not exactly, but no, but yeah, man, I don't know. So whatever. Anyways, that's basically the NHL stuff that I have. I know that you don't super pay a lot of attention, so it's kind of hard for you to get into. But
no, you're okay. Real quick, while I go grab my stuff for dinner, how about you tell your people your predictions for the NHL playoffs?
All right, interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, hockey folks, prediction wise, it's interesting, right? The Panthers are, in my opinion, probably the best team in the NHL. But the Lightning, it's one of those deals where like they haven't quite necessarily had the dominant record to be able to be, what they have been the last couple of years. But nevertheless, they're still the Lightning, and I think that they could very well easily just win a third championship this season. I don't really see a reason why not. I'm really, really watching the Panthers for sure. I think the Avalanche finally might be able to get it all together. They've, for whatever reason, struggled, and it's one of those things where I write them off sometimes just because like they have not been able to get over this hump. But this might finally be the year. I'm just really, really timid with any promises on the Avalanche, just based on the fact that their past performances have fallen so flat. But then again, so did the Red Wings before they went on a huge tear winning championships. So I guess you never know. I'm definitely watching out for the Rangers. I think they're just really well coached, and that's just such a great team. And I think that defense is huge in the playoffs, as well as the Stanley Cup itself. The game of hockey is just so different in the playoffs itself. So it's always hard with these high flying kind of, high scoring teams. It's why the Oilers are fucking terrible in the playoffs. So we'll see. I think that the Rangers are the team that I'm going to be watching the most, and that's the team that I kind of am rooting for in some ways. It'll be cool to see an original six, especially a New York team, finally win, for the first time in a long time. But the Panthers would be really, really dope. I guess I wouldn't mind if the Lightning won a third. It'd be like whatever. And the Avalanche, I know most Red Wings fans hope that they fucking, get swept and out, but I don't have the same vitriol. I didn't really grow up in that era per se. I wasn't old enough for that. So I wouldn't mind seeing them do well, especially with the amount of talent. I would hate to see the guys on their roster get wasted, since many of those guys are future Hall of Famers. So, but we'll see.
Let's do that hockey.
Let's do that fucking hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, I feel like your background needs to be changed to Comerica Park at some point. I just feel like it's got to happen one of these days. I feel like we're done with the pain and the slings and arrows of Pistons.
When we're doing heavy baseball stuff, yes. But NBA playoffs are upon us, Robert.
They are upon us. And the Bulls put up a hell of a fight. I was very happy to see the Bulls not just completely crumble. I was hoping that they could pull it out. Now, of course, DeMar DeRozan did crumble. He was dropping bricks like I've never seen.
Did you see the stat sheet on that game?
For him specifically?
Just for all of them.
Not for all of them. I saw his, and it was ugly. Very ugly.
The whole team, it was ugly. Hold on. Let me pull it up.
Oh, please don't. Listen, the fact of the matter is that they held their own for a long, long time there. And then, of course, they just unfortunately got beat. But
bad.
Listen, with what they are as a team right now in the playoffs and the fact that they shouldn't be there, the fact that they could have won that game is enough for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, they could have won that game. And that's because outside of Giannis, the Bucks really didn't play well either.
Good.
So here's
go Heat, but we'll get to them.
Yeah. So here's the Bucks, or here's the Bulls shooting numbers. You ready? DeMar DeRozan, 6 of 25.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Hideous.
Zach LaVine, 6 of 19.
Oh, you can't have that.
Nikola Vucevic, 9 of 27.
Oh yeah, you really can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't have that.
As a team, they shot 18% from 3.
Well,
the Bucks shot 26% from 3.
So it was kind of like when I get frazzled in a game of 2K and I just start to make bad decisions that snowball on top of each other, and next thing you know, I'm down by 50.
Well, the thing about DeMar DeRozan's game is he hits a lot of mid-range shots, which is great. It's just that means you're inherently taking tougher shots. And so in a playoff environment, when you're playing against a really good defensive team that is scheming for you and knows that you're going to be trying to pull up in the mid-range, you're playing ISO basketball, you're trying to create your own offense, you're going to have a hard time scoring the basketball. It's going to be harder. It just is. And when a lot of your offense is just ISO heavy with DeMar and Zach, I just think a lot of times it can be stagnant and it can make your offense hard to run. And I think bringing in Patrick Williams and expecting him to have a prominent role when he's hardly played any basketball in his career, I think that's dumb. But I think they're just trying to get ready for next year.
For sure. I feel like they're just trying to gain experience, knowing that they're not really in it. and be able to use that to kind of carry into next season. But it's kind of like what I was saying with the NHL playoffs in some ways, and really in general in sports, the playoffs are so much different than the regular season, and it's just not the same thing. I think the only time that the playoffs are relatively the same to the regular season is maybe football on some level. But that's because every game matters way more than any other sport, so you kind of have to treat every game like a playoff game.
Well, in every game you're in the NFL, no matter what, you're preparing for an opponent. Now, playoff
exactly.
might look different. Whereas in like basketball or hockey, you're playing night to night, and you might do some film, you might do some like studying, but ultimately you're going to play your game.
Exactly.
But whereas in a playoff series, you're playing them a 7-game stretch, you're full out game planning for their strengths and weaknesses.
Well, and you're seeing them over and over again where you just kind of get used to their rhythms and things like that. I mean, it just is what it is.
It
doesn't
significantly.
For sure. Same thing with like baseball. Like it's the same problem with teams like the Yankees, for instance, where it's just like during the regular season, sure, they can kind of bullshit their way to 90 wins, let's say, and they can get into the playoffs or whatever. But it's like you look at how they won a lot of their games or lost a lot of their games, and you saw that when they won, it's because they hit like 5 home runs. When they didn't win, it's because they put up an absolute goose egg and nobody could do shit. So the second you get to the playoffs, it's like, yeah, you might have one game where all of a sudden you hit a bunch of home runs and you win a game in a series, but the rest of them, if you're just going to be flat, then you're fucked. Like you're not going to get anywhere in the playoffs like that. That's just not sustainable.
Right.
So
I mean, a lot of times guys do come out slow in game one because generally speaking, you take a break for a week and you're off schedule and you're
trying to feel them out.
Yeah, you're feeling each other out. You're hyped up. The energy's different in the building. So like it's kind of expected that teams can come out flat. So like a team like Memphis losing game one, not surprising at all. In fact, that's why I picked Memphis in 5 because I kind of figured they were going to lose game one.
Yeah.
So.
And I think they'll be fine after this. I didn't see anything in that Memphis game that to me was, oh my God, Garrett Cole just walked in a batter. You fucking suck so much dick. I hate you, Garrett Cole, you piece of shit.
The one thing I would see that would concern me as a Memphis Grizzlies supporter, Anthony Edwards.
Talking.
Oh my God.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards is a monster. He put out 36 points. He told me to keep talking as I put mac and cheese in my mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
yeah, we're good.
Anthony Edwards put up 37 points against Memphis and was driving to the paint. And at times, analysts were saying that he looked like if Michael Jordan gained 20 pounds. The way that he drives to the rim, he's that unstoppable.
Jesus.
And they're not far off just from his play style and his aggression. And also just that swagger he carries to him, too. The Timberwolves can be good for a very long time behind Anthony Edwards if he keeps playing like this. So they need to be the defensive team that they were throughout the regular season because 3 of the 4 quarters the Timberwolves scored 30 plus points, and in the first quarter the Timberwolves scored 41 points. So Garrett Cole.
I fucking had it with this shit, man. God damn it.
I just like to think that the whiteboard changes based on your mood.
The fucking white whale that the Yankees chased down forever. This fucking the highest paid contract or whatever the fuck given to a pitcher or some bullshit. This ace, like what a fucking scam. We got fucking scammed. Fuck Garrett Cole. God damn it.
Yeah. So anyway, NBA playoffs.
Sorry.
No, you're
fine.
But
it kind of moving to the Heat a little bit. They won, which was great. I kind of expect them to. I kind of expect them to roll over the Hawks, to be honest. Especially the Hawks didn't look very good, so I think they'll be all right. The biggest thing with the Heat, and you pointed this out correctly on your Twitter, is that they're like the only team in the NBA who can somehow hold another team to basically no points whatsoever, and then also still not be scoring.
Yep.
It's very annoying. It's actually, again, like the goddamn New York motherfucking Yankees, where their pitching can be so good that ain't nobody scoring runs on the other team, but our bats are so fucking freezing cold that ain't nobody scoring. And next thing you know, you're in the 8th inning, 0-0, and I'm pissed.
Yeah, so basketball.
Fucking damn it. Anyways, but no, oh, thank God, it's a pop-up. Anyways, yeah, man, it's the Heat. This is why I didn't put them in the finals in my bracket thing that we did, is because it's just so frustrating to watch them. Like, I like them. I like Heat culture. I like what they're trying to do and all that. There's
a
good
clear
team.
ceiling to what they're doing.
Yeah, man, it's so frustrating. God damn it, it's 3-2, motherfucking. So the thing that's so frustrating is that it's like defense should win championships. And defense is great, and it's one of the most valuable things they have in the playoffs, and it's something that they do better than maybe any other team except maybe the Celtics right now. But like, their offense is just such piss, and I kind of don't entirely know why. Like, I know that Jimmy Butler is not like this franchise guy the way that he's kind of supposed to be. He is at times.
He's a talented player. He's just not an athletic freak of nature.
Like, he's kind of this guy that, like, he's going to work harder than anyone else, but at the same time, it only gets him so far. And we have other really good scorers and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. And of course, I absolutely love Kyle Lowry and stuff like that. But it's just, no matter what they do and no matter how many guys they add to the roster, it seems like they never seem to, like, the defense is always great.
Right.
But for whatever reason, the offense, no matter who they add to this team, they're never able to just drain buckets. And I don't really know, like, what can the Heat do at this point, assuming that they're probably not going to no finals this year, winning no finals.
Well,
I feel like they're literally a piece away. Like, what player could they realistically trade for? Like, who are they missing?
I'd say a Bradley Beal type, just a guy who can get you a bucket. I think I think just the truth of the matter is that the Heat are they're an assembly of really good players.
Yes.
The problem is that there's a lot of teams in this league that have assembled really good players around two fucking amazing players. You know?
Yeah.
And the Heat don't have any of those guys. Now,
they have the opposite problem of the Golden Knights. They're a bunch of really great role players who do everything perfect, but they don't have that superstar that absolutely brings them to the stratosphere.
They're all 2s and 3s. None of them are 1s. You know what I mean? Like, Jimmy Butler would be the best Scottie Pippen or the best Dennis Rodman. You know what I mean? Like,
Scottie Pippen, 100%. I'm with you. He is really that role.
Yeah. Bam Adebayo, great third guy for sure. Kyle Lowry.
I feel like he's the Pippen, and then Adebayo is the Dennis Rodman. Yeah, 100%. They're literally missing Jordan.
Yeah, and then Kyle Lowry can be that point guard. So, like, the thing is like, you know, they don't have that guy, and so until they get that guy, now they have guys that have shown promise, but like, I mean, Tyler Hero is just not going to be their franchise guy. He's not. I mean, he's good.
Right.
Great sixth man off the bench, really good scorer, but like
the best sixth man in the entire league. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's crazy how Duncan Robinson, he came out firing 8 of 9 from 3. But like, you know, the thing is like they can come out and they can do that, and they can look. There's times where they can look suffocating and dominant, and then in the same beat right now, it's a 1-point game against Atlanta right now, and they're right back in it. So this is a team that 1 year made it to the finals.
Yes.
And then the next year brought back the same roster and got swept in the first round.
Right. And the thing is even in that finals, like, it was pretty clear that they made it there in general, just because the bubble was clearly affecting teams.
Well, yeah.
And they made
environment.
It was very, very different, and they made it. But even then, even in those circumstances, there was only so much that they could do. And the simple fact of the matter is that the Lakers just had so much more firepower, and really all that they had at that time really was Jimmy Butler. So, because they didn't have Lowry, did they?
No.
I didn't. Yeah, it's right. So they did change that. But oh, Jesus fucking Christ, Garrett Cole, you suck so much fucking cock. God damn it. Anyways,
Doing okay, buddy?
No, I'm not doing okay. I fucking hate Garrett Cole. He's at
Your
68 pitches in the second. He just got pulled from the game because he's fucking garbage.
your ADHD brain is killing you right now watching the Yankees.
Because this fucking stupid fucking team. Christ. Anyways, they just, I can't do this. No, but
Basketball. Hey, I like basketball. You like basketball?
like
We can talk about basketball.
basketball's all right. It's
The quote from Space Jam.
yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, it's very early in the playoffs though, to where I'm not really seeing anything that I'm like.
It's only been 2 games, 1 game.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, sure. And like the teams that are going to ultimate, like the first round's always kind of tough because the teams that you expect to win usually win. If they don't, it's just kind of like, well, what the fuck was that?
Right. Well, and then you always get at least one series that's wild that they should not like. And the one that we get this year is Boston and Brooklyn, which might be the best first round we've ever had.
Easily. Yeah, I would actually, it's a good, thank you for bringing that up because every other game I feel like, or every other series, I'm not saying that they're like boring, but they're not that
in this one. The stakes are highest in this one.
Right. This is the one that feels like, okay, this is one I have to pay attention to.
Both
this
of
is
these
one
teams could go to the finals, and one of them's going to be out in the first round.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's huge. Speaking of which, actually, thank you for bringing that up because there's a lot that I have to say about everything that's been going on with Kyrie Irving and stuff like that. But give me your assessment, at least thus far, of Game 1 Celtics Nets.
Yeah. So, I'm assuming on the Kyrie thing, you're talking about him flipping off fans and on his response.
Well, yeah, like all of his, antics really, because it wasn't even just that. I mean, he was doing all sorts of stupid shit. He was like, waving at people, and then he was doing the like boo hoo, and then the flip off, and then suck my dick or something that he said to someone in the hallway. And I mean, just all the whatever. I mean, Jesus.
If you want my opinion, he was a prick, but I love it. In my opinion, here's my thing. I don't believe that a player should tell a guy to fuck off or to suck my dick or anything like that. I don't. However,
right.
Fans oftentimes get pretty comfortable and say
they
a
push
lot of stupid things.
Oh, they push it.
And in my opinion, if it is provoked, then at that point it's different. Now here's where it is. Here's where it is. I think Kyrie goes in pre-shielded and already feels attacked going into Boston because of the past and everything that goes on in there. So in my opinion, I think a lot of it was Kyrie already going in on edge, and then I think he just exploded. I think he kind of went like full Kanye. Like Kanye.
Well, that's actually a good point of what I was just gonna of kind of what my take is with it is I keep hearing about the like, oh, because of the past with the Celtics and this and that. I feel like he's pulling like a Michael Jordan and just making shit up in his own head just to create a beef that isn't really there.
Oh yeah.
I know that the Celtics fans in general kind of aren't overly in love with Kyrie at this point, but I feel like he's kind of to blame for almost all of it.
Well,
like all of the heat he has in Boston is kind of his own fucking fault.
Well, and if you want my opinion, I believe that this is the series Kyrie Irving wanted. I think this is the pressure that he needed, and I think he wanted the opportunity to face this Celtics team.
Yes.
Because they've been so successful, because he did have that ugly of a finish with the Celtics. But he is still friends with those guys, and I think he has good relationships with the players. Like he does, the players, they do love him and they do have a good relationship. It's just that I think Kyrie being the way that he is, he's a very emotion-based person. He's a very, he claims to be a man of like rational thinking, but like he's
just very Kanye West like though.
He's an emotion-based person. Let's just call it the way it is. And so
even if it's misguided or even not even real. Is like,
Yeah.
again, I just feel like a lot of it, he's trying to like sell this narrative that he's like the victim somehow and that his actions are justified. But I feel like that's complete nonsense.
It's, you know how there's like
I think
some
he's
people,
just being a jackass. Like
like,
he really is.
you know those people, like, it's kind of like Will Smith, where it's like, hey, I kind of wonder what this guy's life is like.
Sure.
And then you find out what his life is like.
Sure.
And then you're like, oh God, I don't want to know what this guy's life is like. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like it's like you go, man, the life of Will Smith must be fun. Actually, he's a cuck and his wife sleeps with his son's friends. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Zoink Scoob. Yeah, no, he's very Antonio Brown in a lot of ways too. It's just it's that archetype. Like he just
when he shows up and when he's on his specific court or field,
yes.
he is phenomenal. And
he's amazing. I mean, and Antonio Brown
player.
had flashes of that. Kanye West still puts out unbelievably great albums and hits and this and that, but like all three of them
real quick
act like such unbearable.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that Kid Cudi said that they're not going to make music together anymore? That he doesn't. I mean, that, man, that shit sucks.
It sucks. I don't know if I believe it because they've done this before because they've had beef in the past that they squashed and then they made Kids See Ghosts, which is probably the best thing that either of them have done in years.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't suck. I mean, we've gotten a lot of great stuff out of them, so it's not like we're missing too much necessarily. And they seem to be going in somewhat very different sonic paths, although Kanye did kind of come back to being sort of himself from the Yeezus era on his last record, and I could see his next one being even more. But yeah, I mean, on some level it's a bummer, but at the same time I'm just like, it's kind of whatever. I really like Kid Cudi, obviously a huge Cudi fan, but like him and Kanye together has been played out a little bit at this point to where I think we're not missing like a golden opportunity. I mean, I don't see them doing anything better than Kids See Ghosts at this point. So yeah, I would love to see more of that. But if it's not going to happen, it's kind of like, well, similarly to honestly, like with Kendrick, like if this was his last album ever, let's say the new one that's coming out soon.
I think it is, by the way.
I think that there's a very real chance that it could be. I don't think that it is. It is his last one on that label.
Okay.
I don't think that it is going to be his last one ever.
Do you think he's going to start his own label?
No. Well, yes. I don't think he's going to like have a label where he signs other people though. I think he's just going to release somewhat independently on some level. I don't really know what direction he's going to go in, whether he's going to continue to drop a lot of like long-winded projects that take a long time, or if he's just going to release singles and this and that. I'm not really sure what's going on with Kendrick, but to my point though, if he were to,
what's going on with Kendrick.
yeah, it's kind of tough. I feel like he's pretty content in a lot of ways, and that's kind of the point that I was going to make though, is that if this was his last record ever, it'd be sad because I love Kendrick Lamar and I think he's the best rapper of our generation by far, but like he's given us 2 to 3 perfect albums. So it's kind of like, even if this one was okay, or even if it's amazing, even if it's
really complain.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, dude, the guy gave us Section 80, which is perfect. He gave us Good Kid, Mad City. He gave us To Pimp a Butterfly, which is probably the most perfect hip hop album ever produced and ever, released. So, and Damn was pretty good. And, even Untitled, Unmastered or whatever and stuff like that was good and stuff like that. Like, it's just, he's put out such a body of work that it would be tough to complain. So it is kind of one of those weird things. And the thing is like a lot of artists, it's just, you can only be good for so long. And a lot of times, I mean, unfortunately, many artists die before we get to see them go into whatever their next phase is and stuff like that. But I mean, you look at guys like Eminem, I mean, he's obviously not even close to what he was. And I'm not saying that Kendrick would suddenly, become shit or something like that. But it's just sort of like at a certain point, your legacy and your catalog, if it's as good and as almost untouchable as it is right now, it's like, maybe leave it.
Right.
You might be okay with leaving it. So, but he's also a guy that has a lot to say. He's obviously a great poet, so it's like you never know. But even then, he seems to be increasingly. I mean, not that he never was, but he seems to be, as he's getting older, becoming extremely like politically motivated
Yeah.
to go out and actually do the work, and
Right.
maybe even run, maybe, I don't know, not necessarily for like governor and stuff like that, but on some level, maybe being part of the
Be more
process,
of a
let's
civil
say.
rights activist, be more of a
Yes,
someone that's a social justice advocate, someone that
for sure.
is no, I
Yeah,
and
and maybe being in the nitty-gritty of
yeah.
programs and stuff like that for whatever cause that he is the most dedicated to and stuff like that, and being like in charge of some foundation or something like that. Like if that's the route that he wants to go in, I could definitely see that. I think that he could probably be a pretty skilled businessman to be able to facilitate such a thing, kind of like Dr. Dre in some way. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. I'm extremely excited for his next
Oh, heck
LP.
yeah. Oh, heck yeah, man.
Obviously, he's kind of just been sitting on it for like 2 years, so it's nice that it's finally being, released and seeing the light of day. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's
But
just like a firm thank God he's finally doing it kind of
for
thing.
sure,
And
for sure,
it's my expectations are just to enjoy whatever he comes out with, cuz
yeah,
for all we know it could be whack, for lack of better terms, but like
sure,
my expectations are pretty set on, it's Kendrick Lamar. I have faith. He's a good artist and he hasn't failed me yet. So
for sure.
yeah, so even Damn, even though not everyone is a big fan of Damn, even
Well,
Damn had its hits.
it did, and I actually, I've got it on vinyl, autographed, and everything.
Mhm.
Which is it's funny too, like. This has been kind of a thing with me when it comes to just about anything in my life, but specifically with music, it happens a lot where the first time that I hear something or the first time that I see something or whatever it is, there's a lot of times where I hate it and have extremely strong negative opinions the
Yep.
first time or two.
You?
And then but then I come around and then I end up loving it more than I loved anything else. And the funny thing is that the inverse is also true, where if I like something immediately a lot, I end up growing to hate it. So
Yep.
it's kind of weird where it's like, it's almost a great sign when I hate something first, because it's like, just give them a couple more listens.
Like me.
Oh, hating you at first? Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah, of course. No, I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, no, it's just kind of the way that because like when I first heard To Pimp a Butterfly, I wasn't in love with it because I was kind of used to Good Kid, Mad City and like how it had a lot of bangers and stuff like that. And obviously it
Mhm.
was more of a sort of roots style kind of, jazz influence and whatever,
Mhm.
breakbeat-ish record, stuff like that, whatever. Um, so like I wasn't prepared for that. So at first I was like, what the hell? But I obviously now I just think it's maybe the greatest hip hop record ever produced. But
Mhm.
then Damn, I liked right away because it was, super, super easy to like with all of its bangers and this and that. And there's still some tracks that I, think are some of my favorites of his. But as a whole, it's a record that I think is a little like, it's got some ups and downs. It's all right. I still think it's great, but it definitely has like, somewhere I'm like, yeah, okay, sure.
I would have to say, of all of the episodes we've recorded,
Yes.
this might be the most off the rails first 45 minutes of a podcast we've ever
Thank
had.
God.
And I
I,
think
I
it's
yes.
an accomplishment.
I'm happy. I'm happy with it because here's the thing. I feel like we're coming into what this podcast was truly born to be,
Which is
you
just
know?
Robert's like therapy hour sports wise.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's just a soapbox of me just bitching or, whatever the fuck. Like it's just a complete nonsense hour
I'm
to me.
just expecting this to become like an agenda at some point for like Miami to bring back the Vice jerseys. Like that's going to become like
I mean, that could be a
after
whole episode
oh dear God. We could
because for Christ's sake, I mean, Jesus, just it's time. It is time.
no,
Although
no,
as I've
no, we're not
no,
doing
as
that right now. We're not doing that right now.
we're not doing that right now. But as I was going to say, though, is that I have warmed up significantly to their current unis to where now I'm kind of more torn, but it is what it is.
I mean, they are cool unis. They are kind of Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But
Everything they have is amazing, except I'm still not 100% sold on the one that's like the mashup of a bunch of things. I mean, that's kind of
everything they have is amazing, except their players, their fans, their arena, their city, and just about those
so
things.
go fuck yourself. But yeah, to pivot things, we do have a bit of a Raider report. Remember I think we forgot. Did we forget to mention it on the last episode, or did it have it in between?
You're gonna have to refresh my memory.
Yeah, didn't we have something for the Raider report this week? Didn't you like message me and say that we finally had some? Oh, yes. My boy Derek Carr has been extended.
Oh yeah. Derek Carr
has a 3-year extension. So Derek Carr is officially coming back. He is staying a Raider. He is in the silver and black. There was obviously much. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
he's got a no trade clause, so
yeah,
he can stay a Raider. So
right, yeah, and he did say, I mean, he didn't want to go anywhere else. He told his agent, listen, if I'm going to be a free agent and have to go somewhere else, then I'm going to just play golf because I don't want to be anything other than a Raider. He grew up a Raider fan. I mean, he's from California. He's from Fresno, I think, something like that. So yeah, there was a lot of question marks going into this offseason for the Raiders. In general, things like, who was going to be the starting quarterback, obviously who's going to be coach, stuff like that, whatever. They figured out a lot of things like that. Brought in Davante Adams, which is huge for the offense. Absolutely massive. And it was just kind of a question of, so who's going to end up being the quarterback then? And obviously there was much speculation with a lot of free agent quarterbacks and things on the market. But as they kind of slowly either went nowhere, like Aaron Rodgers, some of these sort of anticlimactic endings, and then some guys just signing in places where it's like, oh, okay, sure.
Well, I think they realized too, like, when you have a guy with
Miggy just got plunked. Don't love that. Do not love that. Sorry. But who likes to see Miggy get hit? Nobody. Come on.
It's just you've interrupted
right in the belly.
For like the past 5-10 things I've said.
I'm sorry.
Interrupted me with something in the baseball game going fuck or ooh or oh or like literally.
It's a nice timestamp for the listeners. They can watch along as they listen to the podcast. It's like Bill Burr.
You maniac. Anyway, I lost my train of thought now, dude.
Yeah, it was just about Derek Carr. Like, I just think that
I mean, they when they have a guy that's that talented in the building, and they have that much momentum, and that many good things are happening, and a guy wants to be in the building. I think it's kind of like what the Lions had with Matt Stafford for a long time, where it was just for a long time for the Lions, it just didn't make sense to move on because what you have in the building certainly is no consolation prize. That's certainly a guy that can go out there any given Sunday and compete with the best of them. And even if he doesn't win every single time, he is surely not at fault. And so I think giving him more talent, I think giving him a higher quality coach and a better offensive mind, I think giving him better weapons, a better defense. I think they've been aggressive. I think this Raiders team could actually be pretty good next year. And now that
I do too, at least I hope so.
And now that they have Derek Carr locked in, like, that's got to give someone like Davante Adams like a lot of confidence, who's coming into Vegas and wanting to make this be a thing. So as long as they don't have Raiders symptom where they get a ton of guys who get arrested again this year, they should be good.
That would be ideal, is to not have a slew of arrests. The Cowboys. The Cowboys can do that instead.
The Cowboys, that's in their
kind of their thing too.
Happen.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I'm all right with that.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm good with that. But no, it is good. Parts of it, there's a lot of money tied up into a few guys, and I think that that's just kind of one of those things. Sometimes in football that can be a bit of a pain in the ass, but no, I think you're right in a lot of ways. Like, it did become sort of that question mark of, do they believe that he's like a Matthew Stafford? Do they
Mm-hmm.
believe that he is that dude? Or do they think that there's a chance to upgrade elsewhere and move on? And like, yeah, maybe he goes to another franchise and is also very successful, but is he the guy that can truly, get you there or bring you over the hump or whatever? Um,
Right.
yeah, I mean, he affects winning and losing,
Yeah.
because he does make a lot of great moves that, allow you to win when you maybe shouldn't. And he also loses a lot of games that you probably should have won. But, that's just kind of the emotion and the energy and the competitive nature that he brings that I think overall is probably for the best.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and I
listen.
think having a consistent roster would be nice.
Well,
I
yeah.
think that that's obviously harmed him, and if
Well,
they can fix that offensive line, I think he'll be in good shape.
I mean, the team's overachieved. How
Yes.
many games? You know what I mean? Like how many games should they have won under the circumstances? Like the fact
Yeah,
that you have the John Gruden situation happen, and then that's not even the worst head coaching thing you've happened in your time as a Raider. Like that's like the second or third worst. Like if you're
pretty
being
much.
realistic. And so for this guy who had no reason to want to stay other than the love of the franchise, I think the Raiders have no choice but to honor that. And if he's been all in on them throughout all of this, then I think as they're soaring and I think as they're trying to figure stuff out, I think it's only right they're all in on him too.
Yeah, for sure. It is nice to see guys like this be able to work out these kinds of deals and stay where you'd like to see them,
Right.
and where they would like to be in this kind of thing, whatever. Because it is one of those things like, Aaron Judge is going to be a free agent this offseason for the Yankees. And it is going to become that question of like, does he actually truly want to be a Yankee for life? Like he constantly says and this and that, whatever. Like, does he truly have that passion for the team, or and this and that, whatever? And is he kind of looking for a bit of a change of scenery and stuff like that? I guess time will end up telling. But I mean, listen, man, it is cool when you have a guy that you can lock up for, the rest of his career, likely, or even a good chunk of it, or whatever it may be. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. The good news is that it's not like a super, super long deal. So it won't like completely jeopardize their franchise for years to come, and they've already kind of locked up. Like the thing that is nice right now is I feel like the Raiders, the guys that they have signed, and for the terms that they've signed to, this is it. Like this is the team going forward of when all these guys are done, they'll basically be all gone at the same time and it'll be ready for the next generation of Raiders. And that's kind of the only choice they had anyways, because what was their other choice? To blow it up? And I don't think that there was any reason to blow it up because they did have something here. But yeah, time will tell. They in some ways they remind me of a potentially better version of kind of the Blake Griffin era Pistons in some ways, where it was sort of stuck in this middle of like, do we go out and get guys to make this something, or do we just finally pull the plug? Like, what do we do here?
Mm-hmm.
So, they're kind of a rock and a hard place. But the thing is like they've lost so much time and so much capital with all of these young guys getting arrested and this, and that, whatever. So it's like, well, if we just start over, then who's to say that that's not just going to happen again or whatever. And so like that, we've kind of already committed to this guy and that guy or whatever. And look what we were able to do even without those guys. So we'll see how it ends up panning out. But yeah, I'm hoping with the addition of Devontae Adams and hopefully some more guys, especially in the draft, especially with how deep this wide receiver draft is, if we can get like a legit, number 2 or 3. I mean, not that Hunter Renfrow is bad, but I mean, with how deep the receiver draft is, so we'll see how it goes. But and there's some pretty decent tackles, so we'll see. Yeah, so I think that pretty much is the Raider report. We covered most of the NHL playoffs, for the most part. Was there anything else in the playoffs that we missed that you were wanting to get to, Sean?
The NBA playoffs?
Yes.
Nothing. I mean, nothing really I can think of. I mean, we talked. I
Yeah, I
mean,
just wanted to make sure.
yeah. I mean, the Mavericks. They were without Luka Doncic for games 1 and 2 because they played him in game 82 and he got a calf strain when there was no reason for him to play. He was supposed to be suspended for that final game of the year, and then they were like, no, he's got to play. They fought it. And then finally they're like, okay, well, yeah, we'll let him play. And then he does play. And the problem is that he strains his calf. So
why was he supposed to be suspended?
Because he had reached the certain threshold for technical fouls in a given year. Like in the NBA, if you get like a certain amount of technical fouls, you get like suspended a game essentially. And
Does he really commit that many fucking techs?
He is an emotional player.
I see.
I will put it.
I don't watch Dallas almost ever, so I know very little.
Well, Luka Doncic is insane. That's what you need to know. The guy can play. Very much can play, in fact. I would argue.
So have they lost both of their playoff games? Or?
So here's the thing. They lost game 1, but then they won game 2 because Utah is a disaster.
Yeah, Utah is kind of a weird team that feels like they were on the real brink of something. They felt like they were really putting together a championship team in a lot of ways, and it seemed like they were really on the rise and like they were doing everything the right way. It seemed really smart. They kind of seemed like they were headed towards where the Suns actually ended up.
Right. Well, the difference
but it just hasn't really panned out.
The difference is the Suns, they got a lot of really good perimeter players, and they got they improved their roster over time. They brought in Chris Paul. They cashed in on the right guy. Whereas this team, you know, they don't have that synergy. They don't have that locker room connection. Like Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell don't want to play together, and it's obvious.
Right.
Like the statistics are out there that Donovan Mitchell passes to Rudy Gobert 2 times a game. 2 times.
Well, that's not great.
That is astronomically low. 2 times. Think about that. How much you're on the court together for him to only pass to Rudy Gobert. But on the other hand, he's also a terrible offensive big. And then the problem is they don't have good perimeter players. And like this roster, the thing that's bad, it's just the roster's just not constructed well for the modern NBA. Like as the game's evolved and as the game's gotten bigger and as the perimeter as the guys on the perimeter have gotten bigger and as the perimeter's gotten more and more and more important in this game, Utah, they can't guard anyone on the perimeter. And so they could lose this series, and I would imagine they're going to make some changes in the summer. They did bring in Danny Ainge to run their team, so
I did choose them to lose, but I guess the thing that I wonder with the Jazz, because I've been thinking about them a little bit recently, is just like, were we all sort of fooled by what we saw like when they were really on the rise and stuff like that?
No.
Like, did we just not foresee this, or
no? They weren't active enough in making changes, and
so they could have really capitalized on this. They just didn't keep up.
I just think that it's run its course. I think that just everything that happened with COVID, what happened in the bubble, I think when Joe Ingles got injured, I thought that was a big problem, and I just think they've played so many games together, and no matter what changes they've made, it's just been, well, this team works, they win games, let's try and keep it together and just try and keep getting better. But like the problem is you just keep running into a wall so many times.
So they probably could have won a championship, but they just missed the opportunity.
Well, yeah, I think they ran into some bad luck. I think they ran into some health issues, but also I just think inherently, I don't think Rudy Gobert is a good enough scoring big to help put this team over the top, and I don't think Donovan Mitchell was ready either. So
it's time to move on before they become a Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, I think they need to break up that duo because they don't like playing together. So I would try to trade Rudy Gobert if possible. But the guy that teams are going to be more interested in is Donovan Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks is going to have a lot of steam this summer.
Right.
So
do you think that fixes the Knicks,
No.
quote unquote.
No.
I don't think so either. I think
No.
that it obviously makes them a better team, technically speaking, because like obviously he's a great player, but yeah, the Knicks, if they make that move, they're gonna have to make, substantial other moves as well.
James Dolan would have to go dead, like drop on the ground for this team to get their issues resolved and for this team to turn around.
Sure.
That's my opinion.
Well, they do have some young, decent talent. I think obviously their time with Randall has run its course, and obviously both sides are completely sick of him at this point.
Right.
Or well, he's sick of them and they're sick of him. And I think that obviously is a breakup that's getting ready to happen. And I think that overall will be good for the team.
Yeah.
Adding Mitchell obviously helps, and
but
being around that young talent could be good, but they're gonna need to.
It's what you give up in return, though. That's the question: is what is it going to take to bring in Donovan Mitchell? Because the Knicks have no leverage at all. They would have to pay big in order to make that happen. And the question is do you make this a Carmelo Anthony situation where you traded so much Carmelo, where you couldn't fully capitalize on his presence of being there? Like, does it just turn into another one of those situations where you're just good enough to be in like the conference semis every year, but then like you don't actually get to the conference finals and you don't really ever get over the top? And does it just become another one of those situations?
That sounds about right.
Because the Knicks aren't exactly a free agency destination. They're not. The only stars they've gotten have been Amari Stoudemire and frickin' Kemba Walker 5 years after he was good.
Yeah, I think that the Knicks, it's tough, right? Because I think that they both are / could be a destination. It's just that I think that the team is so right. The team is so poorly run, and players see that and they go, like if they got it together, like if they got a good unit gelling, then I could see free agents being like, oh fuck yeah. Right. I mean, it's the Knicks. I mean, Jesus, but it is tough, man. And now Mitchell,
whoa, what the?
Yo, this is cool as fuck. What is happening?
What the?
Did this happen on accident?
No, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
that was weird. Oh my gosh.
Small cameo from our.
I do have to get going in a second, though. By the way.
Sounds good. I think honestly, that was pretty much the best way to just tap it there. You know what I mean? That's just
a great way to end this episode.
That's pretty much it. I think that we've pretty much covered what we needed to as far as the playoffs go. Obviously, we'll have a lot more to say probably next week.
Ride.
It sure was. Hopefully someone enjoyed it. If you were a hockey fan, you probably liked it. Yeah, and we liked it. So fuck it, whatever. Yeah. And if you were watching along with us, it's currently 3-2 Yankees, top of the fourth. There is a man on third and 2 outs. So, that's where we're at currently. But I'm going to go watch the rest of this with my whiskey. More importantly,
subscribe to the channel, like the video, follow on
Twitter.
Do that.
Do the social bullshit too. Yeah, or whatever.
Okay,
anyway,
bye.
Bye.
Ow.